That's at least my start of the story. I think it starts with just explaining the fact that this is a very, very important issue. Our built environment. It's something that is of importance to all of us, not only us as scientifics or people working in the construction industry, but it really affects everybody's daily life. So that's the importance. And having said that, I have to tell that I love the industry. I love to work in this field, but there are some issues. And that's what I would like to start with you. And these issues, you can summarize them maybe in people, profit, and planet. If you look at the people part, working in the construction industry, that's really hard work. And if you look at the diseases and the people that getting old very soon, you know what I mean. And if we look at the industry, particularly at the construction sites, it's not a really inclusive industry, is it? If you look at the profit part, we noticed for a long period of time already, decades, that our construction productivity is low and it's not changing over decades at all. And it's maybe a bit sad to explain, but there's only one industry which has such a low construction productivity as we have, and that's hunting. And that's not a joke. If you look at the planet part, so the third P of people, profit, and planet, we need to realize that we make use of approximately 50% of all raw materials. We can't do anything. It's not us to blame for, because we need to build bridges, houses, and buildings. So we need to use these materials, but it comes with a price. And the price is, of course, that we need to take care of our planet. It's a sustainability issue. So if you ask me, no doubt there is a need for innovations. And asking when, I think this is the time to do it, because our industry is really based upon having enough quantity of construction. And if you want to innovate, there must be quantities to work on to make it affordable. But if we look what the situation in the Netherlands is, we have 1 million houses, affordable houses, to build over the next 10 years. We do have 7.5 million that need to be houses that need to be renovated related to the energy transition in 30 years' time in order to meet that climate treatment of 2050. Do realize that 7.5 million, if you divide it in 30 years, is 250,000 houses a year. If you take 250 days, that's 1,000 houses a day. So the volume is there, not to mention that our civil engineering structures are aging over time and need serious attention as well. So there is a need to innovate, and I think the time is there to innovate as well. If you look what I can do from my perspective is to work on that innovation. I would say from my perspective, let's move please towards transformation from the current industry that we have towards a more high-tech industry. And that's, I think, an important issue that we need to address right now. And that means digitization of the sector. The way I do that is by means of 3D concrete printing, but I will talk about that in a minute. First of all, what do I mean with industrialization? You have the industry 1.0, and that's just using equipment, like our tower cranes. If we move towards an industry 2.0, we're going to use a line assembling. We're going to make cars like Henry Ford did it. It will become cheap, and that's really important, I guess, particularly in the housing sector. And secondly, it will become more fast, and that's what we need as well. So that's the right way to move towards. However, it comes with a price. From unique products, we go to just similar products. If we can make the step, and that's the story I would like to discuss with you, towards an industry 3.0 or 4.0, that means that we start to make things digitized and we start to use robots. And the funny part about robots is it doesn't matter to them what they are doing. So you can combine the uniqueness of an industry 1.0 with the mass production of an industry 2.0, moving towards what we call mass customization. What I do, I just told you, is I work with 3D CP, with 3D concrete printing. Why? Because it's just an example of a high-tech industry. How does it work? It's quite simple. You have a pump, you pump concrete through a hose, and you move by means of a robot, you move the hose around, placing concrete at places where you need it. Now look at the people, profit, planet part. It's good for the hard work, obviously. It's gender neutral. From the profit part, it's profitable because you can do it 24/7. But the big gain is maybe not even in the production. The main gain is that in the process, from design to manufacturing, that's why your big gain is, because once the design is ready, you can really push the button and starts to do the production. You don't have to make molds, place the reinforcement, pour the concrete, order everything, much more in one process. And I think that is where the big gain is. And from the planet perspective, the sustainability perspective, the 3D printing adds something additional to most other different types of construction in an industry 2.0. And that is that by definition, additive manufacturing places materially only where we need it. So that means that we can be very, very careful by using the huge amount of raw materials. What I did in the past, I made two things. I made a couple of bridges and a first house. The bridges, let's explain you a little bit on that. The idea was to see what a degree of freedom is in 3D printing, because that's what most people see as a first advantage. So that's what we did. We first made a simple bridge, then we started to work on a more complicated shape bridge. That's fun to work on more nice shapes, but maybe much more important is that the shapes are not only nice from an aesthetic perspective, but I can optimize them. So I can make more complex structures in order to follow what I call the flow of forces. So I only use material and place material where it is structurally needed for. And that's what we try to do with these bridges. And at the same time, we make them fully circular. If we move towards the house, the milestone house that was presented just a couple of weeks ago, there our attention in first instance was just to show that this is not just a story. This can become real. Real people will live in the house, and it's possible to have really a permit on the house. That was the first aim of the house, not to go to the moon, not the moonshots, just try to make a first house. Next houses will make even higher, we may go to the multiple stories, but the first issue for us is just make the house. What you see here again, like with the bridge, the focus is on making complicated shapes. But again, like with the bridges, from an aesthetic perspective, from a design perspective. And I'm totally fine with that. Of course, that is a huge advantage for architects to work on designs that are different from the designs that we know right now. There's a huge degree of freedom for them. But please do realize what you do not see from the outside, that what is in the inside is maybe as important. I can make more complex concrete structures in its cross sections. And that means that I can place the concrete by additive manufacturing only at places where I need it, cutting down on the amount of concrete. I think I can cut it down to approximately 50%, and that would make a real game changer if we look at the carbon dioxide exhaust that comes from concrete. However, I still have to look after the fact that I do use at least not more cement per unit of concrete that I place. And that's the next research we're working on, to make printable concretes with much less cement. And beyond that, we try to give the concrete more different properties. For instance, make them heat storage, make them batteries, make them electricity conductive, so that there's no need to add other materials in a house to make, for instance, a facade element. And with that comes an additional layer of sustainability, I would say. That's my story. And I think I would like to end with the invitation. This is not just a thing that is being done at the university only. This is something we should do as a society, in what I call the quadruple helix. We should do that with the industry, with the governmental agencies, because it's a highly regulated industry that we work in, and not at the least place we should do this together with all the people, because, and I started with that, this is what really matters. The built environment is us.
That was really amazing. I have two questions for you. How do we move up the rankings? Because we are like you said, well, only hunting is doing worse than construction, and that's really true because I also know these researchers. But how fast can we move up those rankings when we really are going to be more innovative as a construction industry?
I think we can move on fast. And let me be clear on this issue. That's not only because of 3D printing of concrete, but look what's happening now. There's already a series of construction companies moving towards what we call in the Netherlands, these housing factories that we are starting to make. I think most of them might be partly in the industry 2.0, and not all of them would be in the industry 3, robotized completely. But I think that's a very, very important first step. From starting to make things in a factory instead of making every object unique. So I think we already started this change route.
Yeah, I think so too. What is the biggest barrier that we need to tackle? Because we have robots, we have innovation, we have everything in place, we have the market in place. What do you think is the next barrier that we need to tackle to really speed this up?
Yeah, Wouter, what I always say, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. We have to find, that's the message on the quadruple helix. I think everything is in place. We have the quantities, there's the need, so everything is there. Just start to do it. But nobody can do it on its own. And I think that is the barrier that we all feel. If you talk amongst each other and you talk within the sector, we say it is too highly regulated. The government should do it, but the government does not know what to do either. So it's the challenge is on us. We have to search for each other, find each other, drink a cup of coffee, and just start to do it.
And what kind of enthusiasm do you see at your students at Eindhoven?
It's huge enthusiasm. So it's really great to see that. First of all, they're really concerned about developments on the societal issues regarding our built environment. So that awareness is there, and that is I think that is really important. And from that comes the excitement to work with these new technologies for benefit of human beings, so for mankind. And the latter one, I think, is as important as the technology push itself.
Yeah. Well, in my time, these things were not possible, so I would have liked to be a student right now because there is so much possible right now with all those technologies. Thank you very much for your talk, Theo, and we'll come to Eindhoven pretty soon when the COVID period is over. Speak to you soon.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.